Hello, everyone. I'm Bo from Brutal Commentary, and today I'm going to be breaking down our next matchup for UFC 325. In this one, we have our Road to UFC featherweight finale as Sebastian Szalay takes on Keiichiro Nakamura. In this matchup, on the surface, it basically kind of looks like explosiveness for Nakamura and the experience of Szalay. As you look at these two records, Szalay comes in 10-1 as a professional, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Meanwhile, Nakamura 7-1 in overall. Again, and like Szalay, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. And I say experience versus explosiveness as you look at Nakamura's record. I mean, it's quite impressive right now. Of his 7 wins, 6 are by KO or TKO. Very explosive guy on the regional scenes and has won his last 2 Road to UFC tournaments, one via knockout against Yo Jin Park, the other one against Kewin Lee by decision. Meanwhile, Sebastian in Szalay, not as a dynamic finisher as Nakamura right now anyway, but well-rounded, patient guy, knows how to win decisions, but can also finish fights if need be. Of his 10 wins, 3 are by finish. And you look at a certain Road to UFC, he actually won his last fight against Ching Ming Yoon by finish. So, looking at it, I would say Szalay, he enters, like I said, 10-1. More of a thoughtful featherweight, winning, like I said, mainly by decision and grinding positional advantage over time. Not for Nakamura, in contrast, brings a resume that leans heavily, like I said, towards the knockout blow. And he's carried noticeable physical advantages, being the taller and rangier guy, for Nakamura, stands at 5'8" with a 70.5-inch reach. Pretty good for the weight class, I'll say that for sure. While Szalay more 5'6" with a 66-inch reach. So I think this fight isn't really more so about the records and all that. I think it's a contrast approach to striking and fight flow while interacted on the big stage. So just looking at their style, starting with Sebastian Szalay. Fights out of orthodox, relies on measured combinations, timing, and good placement. Szalay, he lands fewer significant strikes per minute compared to his opponents, but compensates with solid defense and consistent positioning. And so far, Szalay's career has shown a high number of decision victories. Like I said, only the occasional late stoppage. More so, I guess that can indicate Szalay prefers control over chaos. As Szalay, like I said, absorbs very few significant strikes and defends takedowns well, displaying a fundamentally sound MMA base that rarely gets derailed. While Nakamura, by contrast, is a southpaw who brings aggression and finishing intent to every exchange. Statistically, he does land more significant strikes per minute than Szalay and has a higher work rate too, though he does absorb more shots in return. Now, southpaw stance and the longer reach give Nakamura angles that naturally favor striking intent, initiating and counter striking scenarios. So I think Nakamura's and like I said, you look at Nakamura's MMA history, it is literally defined by his ability to end fights early and decisively. So I guess in essence, you can call this Salazar's game is built around control and consistency, while Nakamura is built around explosive pacing and leveraging his tools in the striking. Now, just seeing how these two clash, technically speaking, this fight pivots more on 3 things: pace, range control, and risk management. That's a big, I think the risk management is the biggest thing in this fight. For Szalay, he will look to engage at mid-range, use his footwork to reset and capitalize on longer exchanges where his accuracy and defense can flourish. His low significant strike output per minute is offset by his precision and his high percentage of strikes that actually land. But he rarely threatens with one-shot hitter-quitters. Meanwhile, Nakamura strengths are exactly the inverse. He generates volume, he's going to push forward, and make opponents react to his tempo. Nakamura's southpaw stance also not only gives him leverage in striking exchanges, but also makes his attack patterns harder to predict. Usually if you're the orthodox guy. You know what they say, right? The southpaw curse, if you're an orthodox guy, or like, tricky southpaw. It's true sometimes. Having a guy who fights in the opposite stance, it can be tricky. So while I think Salazar's defensive metrics are solid, but they are built largely against fighters who didn't bring Nakamura's like fight finishing sequencing. So I think Szalay, I forgot how to pronounce his name for a second there. Approach works when the pace is slow and technical, but Nakamura's combination of volume and power forces quicker, less deliberate actions. And I think that's where I think Szalay can be vulnerable. Now, this stylistic clash, I think it's Szalay's methodical technicality versus Nakamura's high impact aggression. And I think this could favor the fighter who can make the other change their preferred rhythms. Where basically Szalay, he wants a chess match. Make the fight technical, make it shot for shot, relatively speaking, just not an explosive brawl. Nakamura wants literally a puncher's fight. Kind of like how Ebo and Iwo's fight was back at UFC 323. A brawl. Not a bar fight, but clearly a fight, like I said, a brawl where one shot can finish it all, and Nakamura has the power to do that. So, I think for my official prediction, and honestly, I would say out of all the road to UFC fights, this was the hardest to predict. I mean, you look at the odds, they are nearly a pick'em, minus 120 for Szalay, minus 105 for Nakamura. It's damn near a pick'em. This is closely contested bout for sure. But I think my prediction, I think when you drill deeper, I think the greater striking output, the southpaw leverage, finishing history, and just physical advantages, I think this tips the scale, and I'm going to go with Keiichiro Nakamura. I think Szalay's control game is admirable and very good. Don't get me twisted. And who knows? I've seen fighters fight in their home state state, and seemingly are elevated and perform very well. And considering Szalay is fights out of Australia, or fights out of Perth, and this card is taking place in Australia, I think it could boost him for sure. But I think Szalay's control game is effective, primarily against fighters who are themselves patient and defensive. So I think Nakamura is going to force exchanges, disrupt timing, and change angles more aggressively than Szalay has typically seen. And given the contrast in styles, Nakamura's demonstrating ability to create and capitalize on openings, I think this fight leans toward Nakamura. And I think I'm going to pick him via knockout. Like I said, right now he's a hard finisher. And while there can be an argument to be said that regional MMA in Asia is not as good or competitive as the regional MMA in Wales, Australia, New Zealand, etc., the oceanic region of the world, I still think Nakamura has the fight-ending power to win. So, once again, my official prediction, I'm going to go Keiichiro Nakamura, and I'm going to pick him via knockout to just land the more decisive shots and find the opening against Szalay. But with that being said, that is my prediction of this matchup. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below on who you think is going to win. Until then, I've been Bo from Brutal Commentary. I thank you all for listening. And remember, stay calm, stay respectful, and enjoy the violence. I'll see y'all next time.